What's up, Toronto commuters? So in the last Public Works and Infrastructure Committee meeting, they were discussing this kind of kick-ass package proposal to put some different projects in, some different cycling network projects in, and one of them was near York University. Councillor Holyday actually weighed in on it and asked some kind of important questions about it. Nobody answered them. This kind of happens a lot in these meetings where nobody really gets to the I don't know. There's lots of questions and either the wrong answers or no answers. So I'm gonna just play through what his kind of challenge to the Shoreham Drive bike lane is, and then I'm going to respond to it. So here goes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to provide some additional detail to the committee. I've read the report and I've considered the different proposals, but one stands out to me, and that's Shoreham Drive. Shoreham Drive proposes to remove a live lane of traffic, and I wanted to make sure I understood why. And the questions that I posed today and the answers I got haven't reinforced my confidence in this particular direction. This is Shoreham Drive. It's on the corner of York's campus. It connects Jane Street over here, and it connects the Pond Road over here. And part of my questions talked about the Black Creek Valley through here. It's not the great, and Steeles Avenue is just across the top, just to orientate you on the map. It's a very wide road, and there's a very high density residential area over here. There's a number of buildings, and you can see there's a number of large islands, and like many parts of North York and North Etobicoke and edges of the city, they're fairly generous swaths of roadway. So I asked
So hang on. So you're saying, yeah, there's lots of people living over here, and the road width is very generous. And he's right. It's a pretty, it's a 4 wide lanes that moves down from this sort of. It's a funky road because it goes from being just sort of a normal little neighborhood street. But then as soon as it hits Jane, it's like, oh my gosh, I better split and have this this very short segment here where it's kind of designed like a highway, and then it changes back, it metamorphosizes, transforms again into one of these. And this is how cyclists get to York University from the west. They bike across this this bridge here, and then he mentioned the Black Creek Trail too. That comes through there, right? So using the Black Creek Trail, you can get into this area from south, on a bike. It kind of sucks because there's all these spots where you have to climb all the way out of the ravine, and then you go back down into the ravine, only to have to do the same thing over and over again. So it's not really a good commuting route, but it does exist. So getting into the area from south is not super terrible. It sucks, but it's possible. Getting in from east, there's a few different access points that you can use to get to this this next mega block over, like the Pond Road here. And then coming in from north, there's the Black Creek Trail. It pretty much sucks to try and bike into York U from north. So you can see, I haven't gone into any real detail around. Just wanted to do a basic orientation. It's pretty tough to get to and from York U on a bike unless you're down with cycling in and out of the ravine a whole bunch of times. Or unless you're coming from south, because it's not okay. This Sentinel allows you to kind of bike in and out from the south. So it's like if you can get into this neighborhood, and there's got to be a ton of York U students in all these surrounding neighborhoods, but if you can, if you're coming from more of a distance and you can get into the neighborhood to the south of York U, you're pretty much good. You can get the rest of the way. And if you're coming in from like far away, east or west, then you can use the hydro corridor here with this path. If you're not terribly sensitive to magnetic fields or whatever. It's super windy along the hydro corridor, so it's not that great of a commuting route for cyclists, but that's how you can get in from far east or west. And it's just getting to like the Pond Road here. It has a bike lane. Once you're here, you're kind of home free on a bike. But getting to this neighborhood from York U, you have to use either Shoreham or Steeles, which is it's there's obviously no room here for a proper cycling infrastructure, so you got to break the law cycling on the sidewalk, and a surprising number of people are just not really willing to break the law. So that really does leave Shoreham. And yeah, right now this is what it is. So
The question is, why are we taking out one lane of traffic on a 9,000 vehicle per day road from here to here?
all right, so the 9,000 vehicles per day. This road in question, I'll just answer why are we considering this. The road in question here is it's right there. This map is kind of wacky, but that's the segment of road in question. And as you can see, it's classified as a minor arterial. And according to the city's own classification system, a minor arterial needs to get somewhere between 8,000 and 20,000 vehicles per day, using at least 2 lanes. If we need to accommodate cyclists, a wide curb lane or special facilities are desirable. So the wide curb lane thing is not desirable. This is just a big mistake that the city has made, where they're thinking, okay, well, we'll provide a super wide curb lane so that it's wide enough for cyclists and drivers to share. It's wide enough to have a bike lane, but we won't have to put in a bike lane because it'll be wide enough. But of course it doesn't work, because a wide curb lane just inspires people to drive super fast in the middle of it, and the edge of the lane is usually pretty rough. So this whole wide curb lane thing, we should try and change it and ignore it for now. Or a special facility is desirable. So that's why the city would consider putting a bike lane in this spot and reducing it from 4 to 2 lanes, because the street is at the low end of its capacity right now, and the low end of the number of lanes is 2. So basically the argument is the capacity is way below what the current design is, and this type of road is a good candidate for special facilities. So that's why.
And the answer I got was to connect it to the Black Creek Valley, which I appreciate, but
I'm glad he appreciates that, because it doesn't really mean anything. Like putting a bike lane across this segment, it sort of does, it does help people get from the Pond Road here to the trail, but it's not like cyclists are really already totally cut off from this, or maybe they are. Let's find out. Oh, okay, yeah, they really are. Just goes to show what I know. I've only biked to York University once, because it's such a huge pain in the butt, and I'm not a student there, so. Let's see. I guess right now that's how you get to the valley. So yeah, it's a good point. It will help people connect. I mean, the thing is though, it'll help people connect to the west as well from this from the Black Creek. So not only would it help people, you know, use the Black Creek Trail, which is not a very good commuting route, to get to York University. That you know, that makes sense. But it'll also allow people to get from this neighborhood over here to the Black Creek, which means it'll allow people to get from these neighborhoods over here to the Black Creek without using like this intersection or this intersection or this, you know, because they can just, once they somehow get through here. I mean, the area is kind of surrounded by a moat of anti-cycling infrastructure, and all of the gateways through that moat are part of the system of anti-cycling barriers. So it's interesting to be, you know, when you're discussing a bike lane in such a overall like anti-cycling type of zone.
It's a really short stretch there, served by a ton of other infrastructure. The downside on this, though, is, I mean, these are parking lots of thousands of cars and a stadium over here. I'm not sure why we're going to remove a live lane, and in my questions, the answer I think I got was that there are other ways to do this, including putting a bicycle lane. If this is going to become a 40-kilometer-an-hour road, why would a bicycle lane not suffice? And part of the answer I got back was, well, that was the opinion under the community consultation, was for separate cycling infrastructure. I just think we have to be very careful when we make a decision like this. There's a lot of concerns when you take out a live lane on a street that has 9,000 cars, and there's also operational implications, which would include the installation of flexi posts and the ability that we have to do to maintain these lanes through the winter, including snow clearing. It seems that we've jumped from, you know, possibly a very quick and easy to implement option to one of the more extreme ones. But when you sit and look at it on a map, I have a tougher time now. Look, I didn't go to York University. I don't know it like the back of my hand, but I was here fairly recently, and I know this street. And you look at the aerial photo, and I just don't understand why we're going this far with this particular component of the report. And for that reason, I'm going to ask to vote on that particular item separately. Otherwise, I will be supporting the balance of the report. Thank you.
So I mean, it's funky because Holyday kind of, you know, he objects, but then doesn't really. It's like looking at it on an aerial map makes me wonder why we're doing it. Well, you know, on an aerial map you can see there's York University. There's a community of, you know, like you said, thousands of people where there's lots of, you know, high density infrastructure. There's a sports center here that attracts lots of people. And here's this road that, you know, only needs to carry 9,000 vehicles per day that's been classified as being able to carry, you know, 9 to 20,000 or 8 to 20,000 that, you know, that has 4 lanes that can probably accommodate 9,000 with 2 lanes. And it's the only connection between this area and that area. So looking at it from an aerial perspective and looking at it from the perspective of like the road classification system and what it's designed to do, it's designed to use at least 2 lanes to get at least 8,000 people a day in cars across. So that's the answer to his questions, and that's why this segment can definitely have some cycling infrastructure.